Hi, Regancy here, showing you a little bit of Feral+Disc versus Druid Warrior. It's one of our favorite comps to play because we just control the Warrior the whole game. You can see we did a soft opener against the Warrior there. Zeus knows we do the soft Warrior against the opener, so he comes out and he tries to bait me across the map. I try and break line of sight on his first Cyclone, but can't do it. Nice thing here is that I'm going to eat a half duration Cyclone for the next one when I try and peel off the Warrior. Latency gives me enough time to fire that off even though I don't have any haste, and the Warrior's going to end up sitting in it. If he was smart, he would have immediately probably bro-stormed, or at least seen me casting it, and started to bro-storm on Gunter just to keep pressure up while they're up in the open. But at this point now, I'm on DR for Cyclone, so the Druid can't peel me off. I can free to land a stun, Cyclone the Warrior, and land a mana burner too. Occasionally you're going to see the Warrior switch to me, which isn't a good idea because the Warrior will do much less damage to me than he will to Gunter. While Gunter's going to keep inner fire up and will have actually more armor than me in cat form, I'm going to have way more dodge, I'm going to receive 20% more healing, and essentially I can peel him at any point with CCs and keep snares up. Long story short, if he gets on me, he's going to lose. We've played Zeus before, and he knows that these matches are always going to go to the mana game, so he's going to try and get an early mana return from Innervate. I try and stun him so we can stop it. Gunter tries to toss a Mass Dispel, but he basically gets all his mana back. Luckily, Gunter's still got PLD here, which essentially doubles his mana return in casting, in combat, and so he's got a great mana source in that. Plus, we always have my Innervate to give to him, and he's had Shadow Fiend to return more mana as well. The other thing that we do here is that by CCing off the Warrior, every time Gunter has to heal himself, he doesn't have MS up, so he's not actually spending all that much mana. Notice he just put up MS, it only lasts 6 seconds, and I just put a full duration Cyclone on the Warrior. Gunter's not missing much, but he can throw a Renew on himself and basically top himself off. In fact, if you watch right here, Gunter's going to end up taking a little bit of damage when trying to get off some mana burns. I ended up getting into a Cyclone. I landed a full duration Entangling Roots on the Warrior. Gunter's at 70%. He waits for MS to fall off, and then Penance is back to full. Because Penance returns so much HP, there's just no reason not to. Particularly against Warriors who don't have the reduced Snare and Roots meta. They just can't stay up on him long enough to keep MS up. So all we do is CC off the Warrior, wait for MS to drop, and then Gunter can use his most mana efficient heal in Penance and return essentially all the damage that Warrior just did. I start casting a Healing Touch in bad position, but every now and then you need to land a Healing Touch when Brostorm's going on. It can do so much damage if they all crit, and Gunter just needed a little healing there. Plus it started DR, and while their pressure is really strong right now, I have 4 combo points, so I know that I can get off an instant cast Cyclone on the Warrior, who's going to Trinket, eat a Fear from Gunter while I heal him, 5k crit from Healing Touch, and then throw an Entangling Roots at the very end when he hits Berserker Rage. Gunter now does not have MS up and heals from essentially 30% back to full. Zeus ends up going from giving out all the pressure in the world to actually getting pressured pretty hard by us. They don't have any damage output. I have 5 combo points on Zeus, so he starts peeling me with Nature's Grasp. I'm just letting it happen because none of us are taking any damage. Gunter ends up kiting this Warrior pretty well, actually. I trinket this Cyclone and we set up for the perfect Maim Cyclone combo for mana burns. Gunter pops Power Infusion and starts to really go to town on him. Unfortunately, there's a little latency and I don't get my bash to cover up the Maim perfectly. Also, you'll notice that I accidentally start a second DR on the Warrior for Cyclone. We had a lot of pressure going and I guess I just got caught up in the moment. Every time Zeus goes bear form, you can essentially see us stripping all of his hots off of him while we CC the Warrior. He's going to sit in a full duration Entangling Roots while Gunter basically just strips everything off of him he can. I'm going to put up as many bleeds as I can fully ramped up, and we're just going to try and keep pressure up as long as we can. I'm trying to get a Cyclone on this Warrior, and I'm chasing him the wrong way, but it ends up working out because Gunter was chasing the same direction, so the Druid couldn't get a Cyclone on me. Got a full duration Cyclone on the Warrior, allowing Gunter a little bit of breathing room. Get back on the Druid. He didn't end up getting any hots off because he was trying to Cyclone me the whole time. It's at this moment that Zeus realizes how badly he's losing this mana war. He's going to try and go off and get a full Innervate, so I throw up a full duration Entangling Roots on the Warrior and then chase him down. I'm going to try and land a Maim and an instant cast Cyclone and hopefully knock off some of it. Though I realize he still has his Trinket a little too late and I couldn't get my second Cyclone to cover it. He ends up juking around the corner. Even though Zeus ends up getting his full Innervate off essentially, I use this opportunity to ramp up a little damage on him. Get an instant cast Cyclone on the Warrior and give Gunter his Innervate. If nothing else, it'll get Zeus to come around and try and get a Cyclone off on Gunter while he's got the Innervate going. Otherwise, Gunter will just be back at full mana. We land a Fear to knock him out into the open, and I get an SR off the warrior after getting a snare on him. This is where things get dicey. Instead of trying to keep pressuring the druid, I end up shifting out to try and get a CC on the warrior, instead of using an instant cast, which I basically had guaranteed. Now I end up eating a cyclone chain out in the open with no trinket. Zeus does not get offensive here and instead opts to CC me throughout the entire duration that his warrior's beating on Gunter. And while I'm in bad position, I end up getting back into there and landing a key war stomp that keeps the warrior off of Gunter just long enough so for him to live. I try and trinket out of this fear, but it just hadn't come off yet. I eat 1 second of Cyclone and trinket out of that to land the War Stomp, which Latency helped me with. Then I get a full duration Entangling Roots on the Warrior, and we're back to full because he let MS fall off. And once again, they used all of their offensive cooldowns. They started DR and Cyclone on me to try and land a kill. They don't end up doing it, so they lose all their pressure. And we're winning the mana war here. Gunter's going to end up landing another mana burn during this fear duration, and he's going to spend mana going bear form just after the fear ends. I get up all my bleeds, Gunter knocks off all the hots. And once again, Zeus pops NG to try and peel me off again because of how badly he's losing this. I get back on him with a full duration Entangling Roots on the Warrior. I keep knocking off the Entangling Roots that he throws on me and need a Cyclone, so while they're CCing me, they're starting DRs so we can keep pressure. One of the strengths of our strategy is the sustainability of it all. While they're CCing me, the Warrior's not really even on Gunter because of how much CC we can output against them. While we fear out the Druid in this particular example, I end up cycloning the Warrior off of Gunter. He doesn't really do any damage, and he's going to let MS fall off while I do some damage to this Druid, who's out in the open and in the wrong form again. I'm going to land a stun, and he's going to eat some mana burns. But as I say, it's all about sustainability. The Warrior gets CC'd for a third time. He's going to end up beating a Feral charge followed by a full duration Entangling Roots, and Gunter's going to end up healing himself without even having MS up. Zeus is in real trouble now. He's running low on mana, he's down to 50%, while Gunter's still above 90. You can tell by our Innervate cooldown, we traded them, so he's at about 40 seconds left on his Innervate, give or take. So we're staying on top of him and knocking hots off as best we can. And while that doesn't really do much mana-wise, as long as I can put out pressure and keep that warrior off of him, we'll get off some mana burns every now and then. Right now we're just trying to keep Zeus pressured until we can get a 5-point maim on him. Right now I'm about to. Maim and then Entangling Roots on the warrior out of that fear so that he's actually had to use Berserker Rage for the GCD. We get a mana burn or two off. Not a big deal, but he ends up having to heal himself back up because all of his hots got stripped. Zeus's Innervate is coming back up, or it's already up. At this point, I'm going to try and keep the peels for Gunter as good as I can. I end up juking a Cyclone here, just by chance. Even though he's not in the best position, he tries to Cyclone me, and then get off an Innervate, which immediately gets dispelled by Gunter. And at that point, the tide turns in our favor, just dramatically. At this point, I should be thinking Entangling Roots on the Warrior, but we have so much pressure going against Zeus, I just want to keep it up. He's just chasing me off and trying to Cyclone me in a bad position, which he ends up doing while Gunter gets Brostormed. But he didn't end up doing any damage, so I'm not particularly worried. I hit Zeus with Fairy Fire so that it can guarantee at least 5 seconds of him not drinking. Then I finally get the Entangling Roots on the Warrior, but the positioning's bad and I end up eating a snare. There's a few extra seconds of drinking, and while that doesn't matter a whole lot right now, it can matter a lot in matches that end up going super long. Our pressure output right now is absolutely staggering. Gunter ended up healing back to full while the Warrior was Entangling Roots on the other side of the map. I get a full duration stun off on Zeus and land a full duration Cyclone on the Warrior while we land some mana burns. Entangling Roots DR just came off the Warrior, so I Feral charge him to root him down and then immediately Entangling Roots him. I'm going to end up beating a Cyclone here, but it doesn't matter because Gunter is all over Zeus. Zeus is booking it, and Gunter's stripping him. At this point, I get out of my Cyclone and give Gunter his Innervate. We have so much pressure going that Zeus is just running for the hills instead of thinking about cycloning Gunter. Zeus goes into panic mode. He doesn't have Innervate up for at least another minute or two, so he's going to try and Cyclone me and run to the other pillars, which doesn't end up being too bad. Gunter gets a dot on him and strips him of all of his buffs, while I get an instant cast Cyclone on the Warrior and we start chasing him down to keep him from drinking too much. Because Zeus is so concerned with his mana, he didn't even throw a rejuve on himself running over here, even though Gunter didn't have line on him. So I get him pretty low before he even throws another hot up. He Cyclones me full, and Gunter has to use Pain Suppression here to keep from getting gibbed by this Warrior, but we get a full duration Entangling Roots directly thereafter, so it's not such a big deal. He penances himself back up just because he wants to keep pressure going on this Druid. He lands a mana burn as he turns around this corner, so it worked out pretty well. Zeus is at about 5k mana here. He knows that his Innervate's coming back up soon, and so do we. We're trying to just sit on him and get mana burns. I trade a maim with this Cyclone, which isn't too bad because a 5-second stun and a 6-second Cyclone. It starts DR for me, and he can't really peel me once I need to get onto him. I Entangling Roots off the Warrior and get back on Zeus. It wouldn't have mattered because I had my trinket, but if that Cyclone actually lands on me, it's half duration, and I can just stay on him and continue dealing damage without having to worry about Cyclone peels. I'm going to peel the Warrior here, and we're just going to go pretty hard on Zeus. Again, he's running into a lot of trouble. He's about to run out of mana. He ends up ducking back and forth just long enough for Cyclone to fall off DR, which I immediately trinket. Zeus ends up making a bid for the opposite pillar, but I have Maim, and I Entangling Roots the Warrior, and we end up landing a ton of mana burns here, putting him into terrible position, mana-wise, and he doesn't have Innervate for a little bit longer. We just keep doing what we've been doing. CC off the Warrior, and stay on Zeus as best we can. His hots keep getting dispelled, and he has to continually eat mana burns through our stuns. At this point it's looking pretty grim. Zeus is under 1,000 mana, and Gunter's over 18k. All I gotta do is keep pressure up long enough for him to land one more mana burn, and it's essentially game. If I eat a Cyclone, it won't matter. Gunter's gonna keep stripping him and throwing up dots as best he can. Right after I get out of this Cyclone, I consider going for the Juggler on Zeus. You can almost see me thinking about it, just leaving Gunter there with that Warrior. When I think better of it, come back, CC off the Warrior, and then we pressure Zeus some more. At this point our pressure's too strong. I end up getting a 5-point Maim on Zeus here when he tries to Cyclone me off, which I did not have Trinket for, but it didn't matter. GG Zeus.